All right, so we have 52 participants, highest showing ever. And we will get started. So to everyone listening, thank you very much for joining. I'm Adam Fritz. I'm the CEO of Pozotron, and I'm joined today by two fantastic gentlemen, Jeff Guillot and Kevin Kemp. So I'm going to give them a little bit of introduction later. But Jeff and Kevin, why don't we start with you, Kevin? Maybe just introduce yourself briefly.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm a narrator. I've been an actor for like 19 years, and then started narrating about 5 years ago, and I love it. I really feel like I've sort of landed in my home. It just feels like what I love most about performing. So yeah, that's me.
Jeff, over to you.
I've been in the audiobook industry since 2009. I came to Scribe in 2021 to build and manage their audiobook department. And yeah, I don't know what else you want to know.
Where are you calling from today?
I am in Austin.
Awesome.
I have mixed feelings about that always, but I am here in Austin.
Fantastic. And Kevin, did you say where you're calling in from today?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
I moved to the States about 7 years ago. So
awesome.
I used to be in Los Angeles. I miss Los Angeles.
It's nice. I do like it.
It is.
Awesome. So I am calling in from Vancouver, Canada. Not that that really matters. And let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen. Today, we're here to talk about Pozotron Script Prep Tools. So we're calling it, just make sure I'm sharing sound. Here we go. We are calling it the Prep Tool Insights. Really, the goal today is we've got two people who use Pozotron, specifically the script prep tools, in different but equally advanced ways. Kevin, as a narrator, we're going to talk to him about how he handles his own script prep end-to-end in a couple different workflows based on how his client has structured the project. And then Jeff, we're really going to be talking about as a team. You know, he often works with individual narrators. He has the author involved as well. And so more focusing for him on the collaboration side of things. So Kevin will also touch on some collaborative elements as well. But really the goal is you're going to see a couple different workflows. And hopefully you'll learn something. And also one thing I want everyone to take away is if you are a Pozotron user, or even if you're not, if this is your first introduction to what our tools can do, please reach out. On our website, there's a few different places you can find book a demo link with us. No matter how early or developed you are into your Pozotron journey, we will have a call with you. We're happy to do a discovery call where we help you map out your workflow, and we can help you optimize and find more efficiencies just by applying some of the learnings that we get from everyone we talk to, and help you be the most efficient you can be.
He speaks the truth.
We do honestly like to talk to our customers as much as possible. Not just it is the honest truth. Okay, so a couple things. The chat is open. I will not, other than Todd Race saying, yay, Canada, thank you. And Emma, great, thank you for putting the book a demo link into the chat. I will not be monitoring the chat there. I've got too many things to do currently, and my brain can only handle one thing simultaneously at the best of times. But if you do have any questions, either raise your hand or use the Q&A box. So if you raise your hand, I believe I will get a notification and I can have you ask. You can raise your hand or put the Q&A, use the Q&A at any time, and I will ask it to our esteemed guests whenever I think it makes the most sense. All right, so now into our script prep tool. So we have 4 things technically in our script prep bundle, 4 different features. One of them is a post-production element to check some of your pronunciations that I'll go over very quickly here. So our pronunciation guide. So this tool is designed to make it easier, faster, and more efficient for you to pull words that are difficult to pronounce out of your book and find the correct pronunciation. Kevin and Jeff, you can see my Pozotron screen now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so pronunciation guide, very quickly, you click on open suggestions. It will give you there we go. zoom in. There we go. So now it'll give you a list of all the words that our algorithm believes your average narrator may not know how to pronounce. Capitalize rare terms, so generally capitalize proper nouns, complex words, foreign words. You can also toggle on capitalize common. You're going to add a word using add to research or ignore. You can also use the R and I hotkeys, and then it will pull that word from your chosen dictionary.
Amiable.
We offer Merriam-Webster, Oxford, Forvo, Oxford US, Oxford UK, Forvo, which has a number of different accent and language options, and then Merriam-Webster as well as those integrated dictionaries. So at a very high level, that's how our pronunciation guide works. Again, if you're looking for more detail, please book a demo with us. We also have the character voice guide, which does something quite similar. You're going to open suggestions. It will give you an output of all of the words on all of the character names in your book. In this case, I'm just going to add Sherlock. Then you can add a character photo. You can add a character description. Brilliant. I have written the word obstinate about 10,000 times on doing this. Probably the person who's used the word obstinate most, maybe in the history of English, based on how many times I've done this. And then character voice notes, you can say deep baritone, London accent. And I do know, Kevin, that there's not one single London accent. There's a million of them, but it just makes it easier. And then you can also record a sample of you speaking up to 30 seconds in that character's voice. So very easy way to record your characters. Currently, it's a best tool for recording information. It does not, unlike the pronunciation guide, pull information out of the book as much, but I am going to get into at the end of this planned development item called the character descriptions tool, which is going to start work in January. That's going to be a real game changer for all of you. We also have the marked up script export. So once you've done your research, you can click this button as long as you've started with a PDF script originally, and it will automatically highlight all your character names in blue, all your pronunciation words in yellow in your script, with a comment in that PDF, including all your notes, a URL link to the actual audio files you've recorded, and really an easy way to start that markup process. Which can be obviously manual and super time consuming for narrators. We have a ton of new things that we're going to be working on next year, including the idea of an actual way to highlight dialogue automatically in different colors in a script and things like that. Finally, scan occurrences. So this is that post-production tool that Jeff, I know, loves. So this is a tool where you can click on here. It'll automatically pull the words from your character, from your pronunciation list in. You can see it's got the correct
Amiable
pronunciation here. And then what this does, this actually pulls all the occurrences of that word from the audio you've uploaded. So you can listen to it back to back to back for consistency. So in here, we've got
amiable.
Should be pronounced amiable. If I click scan, it will scan slowly because I'm on a webinar, and of course my Wi-Fi is going to go slowly. Generally, very, very quickly.
Amiable. Amiable. That it is only an amiable man.
And then you can mark using these checkboxes. You can either mark those as pickups using that annotate button in the top right, or you can export directly into your DAW. So that is a very, very quick tour of our pronunciation character guide, character guide, export mark script, and scan occurrences. Quick question on the character voice clip. Can you upload a short file instead of recording in the interface? Yes, you can do that for the pronunciation or the characters. So if you click on here, there's an upload button here. There's also when you record something or upload something, you can actually download that audio file as well. A download button appears. So very good question. Roxanne, can you please go over the feature about uploading a marked up PDF? By marked up, are you referring to notes? No, so Roxanne, you can export a marked up PDF. So we will create marks in your PDF for you based on the work that you've uploaded. So you can't upload a PDF that has markups already and import that into Pozotron. That is an interesting idea. So for Lindsay or Daria or Johnny, any of my team who are listening, please make a note of that. Okay, if you do, you being listeners, if you have need for more in-depth demo, please use the book a demo link on our website, because we would love to go really, really in depth about all of that. Okay, now on to Mr. Kemp. So other than his sparkling blue eyes in that photo, Kevin is a British actor, audiobook narrator, and voiceover artist with 19 years of experience in the industry. He has worked in theater, and I've got too many windows covering part of my screen here, and on screen across the UK, Europe, India, and the US, winning numerous awards. He is also an acting and voice coach, and his blog, The Audiobook Guy, offers tips on voiceover and narration. He will also be a very soon, immediate term recipient of one of these nice purple Pozotron t-shirts like Jeff.
Yes.
And for anyone listening, we are going to be running some holiday giveaways with some of these t-shirts as well. So stay tuned for that if we haven't already sent that information. Okay, so Kevin, this is a workflow map that Johnny from my team very helpfully created about how you use Pozotron. Can you just start by kind of highlighting each of these steps, how you do it? I'll jump in with some questions, but can you just start by going through from as soon as you get hired for a job, you get your script, what process?
Sure. So yeah, get the script, upload it into Pozotron. And then if the publisher or the author has sent me a pronunciation word list, I'll upload that into Pozotron as well. So that's there. And then if it's part of a series and it's not the first book, so I'm like, second, third, fourth book, I'll transfer my Pozotron research from my last project into this one. So like, I do tons of fantasy and sci-fi, so there's obviously like lots of nuts words that aren't in normal dictionaries. So a lot of those will be in the last book, so I'll just pull them in to the new book, which has saved me loads of time. Thank you, Adam. And then once that's imported, I'll read through the script, and as I'm reading through, if I come across a word that I don't know how to pronounce, I'll add that into the pronunciation list. I tend to favor Oxford, the UK version, because of my silly accent. And then sometimes Cambridge as well. The pronunciations can conflict between the two. I find Oxford has more sort of modern pronunciations to it. Cambridge is very, very traditional. And my accent is known as estuary, so it's not received pronunciation, which is posh. I'm not quite as posh. So my accent tends to have some different pronunciations in there, and Oxford tends to have those, so that's really useful. And then, of course, if I'm doing US pronunciation, Merriam-Webster, because they rock. And then if it's not in those dictionaries, I'll go to Forvo after that. That's really good for like languages that aren't English, and also like sometimes names and stuff like that. Forvo is just a really good resource. And if that doesn't work, then I'll go to Youglish. If you haven't used that, that's where it finds all the instances of that word being said on YouTube videos. So you can find kind of like common usage of how that word is pronounced.
And just so everyone knows, just quickly here, when he's talking about, so you can switch your dictionary up here. This is the integrated dictionary that'll automatically search it. But all of these links here are clickable links, and we should actually add Cambridge, Kevin. That's a good example. That should be a clickable link here. So again,
that would be nice. Yeah.
Lindy, Johnny, Daria, anyone who's listening, please make a note of that because I will 100% forget. But that's where you have this clickable link here that'll open the search window. So Youglish, for example, in another tab, and then give you 221 examples from YouTube.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to get too salesy because like, I don't want to sound like I'm like, Pozotron's amazing. But I used to just have like all of these tabs open on Chrome, and my computer real estate was just like nuts because I just had so many tabs open. And so to have those clickable buttons that just open that up, and it's not just that it opens it up, it has the word on it, which is just ace. So yeah, it's really useful.
I'm currently struggling with screen real estate on Zoom right now. Having your video, your windows, I've got the participant list, the Q&A box, so I understand your pain.
Yeah. And then if it's not in any of those three, then I'm on to kind of just internet research and trying to find any way to pronounce that word. And then I'll take the International Phonetic Alphabet spelling of that word and put it into the Pozotron notes. If I'm working with an author, sometimes I'll do like just a phonetic spelling using normal letters because not everybody knows IPA. But if I'm working with myself and a publisher, then I'll just use IPA because I prefer that.
One thing to note here is we're actually are waiting for an update, at least from Oxford, where they are working on a way to not just give so if I switch this to Oxford here, Oxford, say Oxford, UK, gonna move this over here and I update the research word with Oxford. It currently sends the IPA. We're waiting for their API to update this, but it'll actually be in a more send it back, basically send it back in a form like that most people, that's more common for most people to read. So that is an update that is coming soon.
Would it still have the IPA as well?
So you'd have to choose one or the other.
Nice.
Yeah. One question from James Romick. James, this is not a stupid question, as you prepped it with. Do you have to read from Pozotron? I generally prep my manuscripts from Android tablets. So you don't have to read from Pozotron, but you can open up the script you uploaded here, clicking this button, and it will open in a new tab. But Kevin, do you have your script open just on another, like in a PDF on your computer screen? How are you reading that?
Yeah, I have it open as a PDF on my computer. I used to read it like on my iPad separately, but now I have it as part of the computer screen. And like the fun thing with Macs is like you have that cross thing, right? So now I can open it as a PDF on my iPad, highlight a word, and then drag it onto my Mac to then like search it in Pozotron. So yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and then that's pronunciation stuff. And then as I come across new characters, I'll make a note of that character, so usually how they first are described in the book, because I think that's how people that are listening are going to get their first impulse of them. So I like to take that first impulse and then match that voice to that first impulse, unless as we're reading something crazy comes out, like, oh, they're actually from Spain, and then I'll change it. But yeah, so like the first impulse in the book, then my vocal notes of like their accent, their vocal tone, things like that, and then I'll make a vocal recording of them saying a couple of lines or something like that, so I can get into them quickly. And usually, like, I try and find a tagline that really feels like them, so that every time I come across that character, I can just like say that thing that they always say, and then I feel like it can get me into their voice really quickly.
That makes total. One thing, just answer a question live here. Chris, this is not obvious, and this is Pozotron internal parlance, PRG, pronunciation research guide, CVG character voice guide. So that's a very, very good question. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and then once I've done that, you can excuse me, you can create an online link that you can send to people. So I'll send that to either the author or the publisher, and then I'll ask some questions in terms of if I'm unsure of any pronunciations. I'll highlight that word and be like, can we look at this? Or if I've got any other questions.
So everyone knows what he's talking about here is this share online packet button up here on the top right. That will enable you to send a read-only version of your pronunciation research. So all you have to do, send this URL, open it up here. Everyone can see from my Google ads that I'm looking to buy new golf shoes. Here, this is a read-only version.
Amiable.
So you can see what he's typed. You can listen to it. You can even click these searchable links, but you cannot edit anything at all.
And I have found that helpful, because like in the past, I just used to have like a big Google sheet that I used to share with the author or the publisher, and then do a link to either a dictionary or a link to me recording it that would be saved in a Google Drive somewhere. And it worked. It was fine, but it is just quicker using Pozotron, and all the publishers use it anyway. So it's just helpful that it's all in the same place. Just to say to Lauren said that the character taglines. Yeah, I found it really helpful. I used to just sort of almost say the intellectual process of like, he's speaking in a Scottish accent in their voice, like he's speaking in a Scottish accent, it's deeper. But then when I came to, every time I spoke to that character, it wasn't as quick as just giving them a quick line that I just was them and embodied them. And that's definitely made it quicker to narrate now I've done those taglines. So yeah, it's cool. Yes. And then after I've asked those questions, I'll download the Pozotron stuff. You can download a packet that has an Excel of everything, and then also an HTML that is an offline link, so you can open it offline.
And that's right
see all
here.
of your
You can
research.
go import, export to Excel, or export pronunciation packet, which is that zip file that's all of the data, but accessible without Wi-Fi or internet connection.
And like, I'm just a backup nerd, so I just really like to back up everything. But I have found that when I'm reading, I'll actually open those offline HTMLs to use as I'm recording the book. And the only reason is that when I'm doing the character stuff, sometimes I don't need to hear the whole tagline. I only need to hear like 2 seconds. So I press play on the offline HTML. And then if I press their name, it can stop all of that playback. So I don't know if that's something to Adam, actually, like a stop playback thing for us as narrators to just be like,
yeah. So that is actually coming. I think it actually might. Let's test. If it's not, we just did a software release today. Let's test. All right, Kevin. Well, no, I'm not gonna. I was going to have you record something, but I don't. I have a character voice for Sherlock, but I don't know if it would have worked for my microphone.
So excited.
I was going to have you record something, but I don't. Let me see, because I thought we had rolled this out today, but let's see. If it's not out there today.
Sherlock.
There you go. So now you've got the pause.
Sherlock. Sherlock.
So you see how when I press play here,
Sherlock.
the pause button comes up. So you can actually now stop here. I'll do it a longer. This is a test to show Kevin that this works. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to look really stupid. Click save. So that is actually very timely because that has been rolled out today.
Oh, you made me such a happy Kev.
There you go.
Thanks, Adam.
No problem. One quick thing from Heather Firth, just about accents. Not actually a question, but a comment. If you do want to pull, and again, this is based on Forvo. So remember Forvo being the Wikipedia of pronunciation entries. I could set English here, and I could choose just a Canadian accent. And this will only pull pronunciation entries from Forvo. So if I added the word hockey here, very Canadian, obviously, it'll only pull a pronunciation entry recorded by a user located in Canada.
Hockey.
Not how we pronounce hockey at all. So thank you, Forvo. But that's just another way to get those specific accented speech. Obviously, as I mentioned with the London accent, there's a million different Canadian accents. There's a million different British accents, but it does at least get you a little bit more granular. We also are working on a way with Forvo where, because there may be 15 different Canadian pronunciations of hockey uploaded to Forvo, is we're going to have an arrow button where you can actually go through. We received from Forvo the highest rated response. But we're having a way where you can click an arrow and see like next one from Forvo, next one from Forvo, next one. So you could go through all those and choose the one you actually like. So that's it.
And you can do that individual word to individual word.
Yeah. So for example, if I said, okay, I want the Canadian pronunciation of hockey, and let's actually see here. I click on hockey here, British, American, other. So let's say British here. So there's 6 different pronunciations of hockey from American people, from American users. You would actually, inside of Pozotron, you'd be able to click and listen to all 6 of those and then only have the one that you like as the version.
And this hasn't affected what you've done on Amiable.
No, it's word by word. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Because yeah, I have a bunch of characters that would say stuff in different accents. So that's nice. I'm gonna.
Yeah, and so if you ever are changing, so let's say Amiable here, for example, I've now changed it to Forvo. Sorry, I gotta move all the 15 screens out of the way. And I click update research word. This will now look for the Canadian pronunciation of Amiable in Forvo.
Right.
Which doesn't appear, something has come up. So if I wanted Forvo here, let's say Forvo English USA, save.
Amiable.
Oh, that's quite a voice. But Forvo does not bring you the phonetic text here.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I digress, Kevin.
I'm making a note of that because I didn't know that existed. So I'll be using that later today when I'm doing work on my book. Cool. Yeah, cool. So when I've done everything, send off those online packets, get any notes back, download it for backup Kev Paranoia. And then if I'm working direct with an author and not with a publisher, I make sure to have a meeting with that author at that point, where we go through all the characters and we go through all the pronunciations, so we don't have to re-record anything later, because that's always fun, isn't it? And then I just start recording after I've done that. So yeah, that's my workflow.
Awesome. Fantastic. I'm going to answer a couple questions, and then I know Jeff has been patiently waiting to make fun of me for how long it took me to get a Pozotron t-shirt to him. But just a couple questions here. So Heather Firth, how do you import an existing word list? You go into pronunciation, import, export. There's two ways you can do it. You can click import list, and then you can copy. All right, Pozotron team, this is no longer needs to be one word per line. So we need to make a note of that too, please. Thank you. Always good when I'm catching bugs or things we need to change live. So you could actually just copy and paste as long as it's not one word per line, it's one pronunciation entry per line. So Sherlock Holmes, Jeff, vegan tacos. Jeff Guillot loves vegan tacos for everyone. So I click save. And then this should import all of those entries one at a time. Of course, now my computer's going to go super slow. And yeah, there you go. Jeff, Sherlock Holmes, tacos, and vegan. And now it'll search not only for the correct pronunciation, which...
Vegan.
Well, that was said with like a lot of disdain.
That was said by a meat eater.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll also count to see how many times that's in the book. So that's number one. And then if you're going to do it in Excel, you just go import to Excel. It'll show you to download, click this here button, and it'll actually download the template, and you're going to import a bunch of, or type all that stuff into Excel and then upload that Excel here. And it'll populate both add words, all the words in the word column, and then it'll also add all the phonetic text if you update that phonetic text in Excel as well. Okay, so
I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Of course, go ahead.
When you import, does
Yes.
it wipe over any of the work that you've done? Like if you've already done some research and you've added words and done pronunciation and stuff, and then you import something, does it wipe any of that? Or
so if you if I changed, you mean on the Excel? So if for example, this had previously been like this, and then in the Excel I had updated it to Jaff, for example, will it change it? Good question.
I guess
don't
that,
remember.
and also I noticed that amiable and hockey are now blank.
So that's because I searched it in Forvo. So Forvo doesn't, amiable. So Forvo's API just doesn't send the actual text back, just not a functionality they support. But I actually don't know. And I can find the answer to that. I think it is designed to do, but I'm not sure exactly if it does or not. Let's just go through these questions really quickly here. Mitch, when you add another word, does it appear underneath or above? It depends entirely on how you have it sorted. So you can sort your list by number of occurrences, word category, first occurrence, completed first, incomplete first, alphabetically, and last edited. So it's based on, it'll automatically add that new word based on how you've got it sorted. So I added Jeff, tacos, and vegan, and it's sorted by number of occurrences, and none of those are found. So that's why they go into the bottom there. Okay, so I've answered that live. Esther, where do I find the price list for the cost of each of the features? I can send, actually, Pozotron team, if someone can send a link to the script prep pricing, that would be awesome. To answer Esther there. Kelly, question on voices in the character notes. Can you confirm if the scan occurrences will check to make sure the character voice is consistent? It will not currently. That is a plan that we have. However, there is a bit of a workaround. So if I go into scan occurrences here, and I add said Sherlock. Let's see, it might not work because I have so little. No. Let me just see if I have a different project here. I know I've done this. I've actually used this workaround for people before. Do I have Jungle Book here? No. Let me log out and log back into a different project, and I can show this workflow really quickly. We are building a scan occurrences for characters. We're not there yet, but for example, I wonder if I have, there we go. Said Bagheera. This will pull 25 occurrences every time said Bagheera.
Said Bagheera.
There's a couple different ways to do this. It's a bit of a workaround, but Kelly, if you have questions on that specifically, please book a demo with us, because we do have a workaround that'll help you with that for now until the scan characters is built. Lauren Peterson, shareable pronunciation packet. Is there a way to include a narrator's logo and icon? No, there is not. That is called white labeling, and it is possible, but let's just say there's a pretty significant markup, which is standard across the industry. So if you are interested in that, feel free to shoot me an email, adam@pozotron.com, and we can talk about that. But white labeling will get expensive, just to be totally honest. Is there a way to edit a character in the character guide and add a last name? Yes. Currently, you can only do that from the pronunciation page. I'm going to log into another account here. Currently, you can edit a pronunciation entry by clicking here. So if I'm going to remove Sherlock, click Save. Yes. We have not built that function on the character guide yet. I actually don't. Does anyone know what Watson's first name is? Doctor?
He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have one. Okay, we're going to make it up. It's going to be Jeff Watson from now on. So what you can do currently to edit a character guide is you click on here, go pronunciation and characters. John, thank you. Okay, now I'm going to click on here. Yes. And then I'm going to go into the character guide, and it now should, of course, it's probably not going to work. There we go. And now it shows John. So it's a bit of a workaround. You have to go into the pronunciation guide. That will be changed moving forward. Okay, so I'm going to get into, I will answer a couple of these, a few more questions. Oh, look like the last one. Kelly, the search of words in the various dictionaries, can you set that as default for all projects you create? Yes, you can. Go in here, click on your email, go to profile, click on proofing and prep, and this is where you set your dictionary choice. And this will be the one that prompts you every time. Okay. Fantastic. Kevin, thank you very much. That is awesome. And we'll probably get to a couple questions for you later. Mr. Guillot, over to you. Jeff Guillot, again, wearing the nice purple Pozotron shirt. Jeff Guillot is the head of audiobooks at Scribe Media, a publishing company that helps entrepreneurs, executives, and experts write, publish, and market their books. Jeff is also well known as the nicest guy in audiobooks. He has 15 years of industry knowledge and experience, and we will all learn a lot from him today. So Jeff, obviously you're using, there's more people involved in an individual project just by nature of your business. So can you start by just going through your workflow in Pozotron?
Absolutely. Before we get to that, I just want to mention that it took 2.5 years to get this Pozotron t-shirt. So if anybody is interested, you just got to start pinging at them like now. But with that said, the first thing that we do is load the script into Pozotron. I start with pronunciation research. I do that at the same time that I'm doing casting. But keeping it focused on Poz here, I'll take a look at the list of words that Poz flags as, I'll go through it, figuring out which words I want to keep and add pronunciations for, and which words, names like Adam, Jeff, Kevin, everybody knows how to pronounce these names. We can get rid of those from the list. Anything I do flag for research, I will provide recorded pronunciations for, unless I can't find it, then I leave it blank. After that, I will share it with the author. I add the author as a researcher to the project, so they'll have access to it. They'll be able to go in. At that point, the author needs to review all of the recorded pronunciations I provide and fill in any blanks for anything that I couldn't provide. One thing here, we don't do phonetics with our stuff because it proved to be a lot of headaches because the authors were not always putting phonetics that matched the recorded pronunciations they were providing, and that created a lot of headache on the back end until we figured out what was going on. So we don't do phonetics, we just do recorded pronunciations. Once the author signs off on it, it'll then, I'll go through it, I'll make sure that in fact, everything is updated as the author wanted it, that, they didn't accidentally not record a pronunciation for something they wanted to record a pronunciation for. And assuming it's all good to go, at that point, the pronunciation research will be shared with the narrator and the post-production team. Adam, you're muted.
Thank you. It's such a boomer. One of the reasons I wanted to bring Jeff on, not just so he could make fun of me for the slow, how slow Canada Post
2.5
is.
years.
I'm going to blame Canada Post. Is the collaborative element is really important, and actually one of the main values in Pozotron, even if it's just an individual narrator like Kevin sharing it with one person. I think there's that element of, you don't have 15 different things on your screen from a screen real estate perspective, and that idea of a single source of truth. Everyone knows where to go. But really with Jeff, he has an incredible email that he sends to not only to explain exactly what each person in the process is expected to do, but also how to do it. I will distinctly remember getting a panic. I don't know if it was one of Jeff's authors, but I did get an email from an author at one point who was trying to access Pozotron and just couldn't figure it out. I ended up having to FaceTime with him. It was a very, very nice older guy in New York, but it turns out he was trying to access Pozotron from AOL. Which, needless to say, when AOL probably hasn't been updated in 15 years, it was not possible. But Jeff does a really, really good job. It was not actually one of your authors, but you do a really good job of just explaining and teaching and showing with this email. So maybe can you talk a bit about your collaboration template, how you send that? And then I've actually got a screenshot of that as well.
Oh man, I never actually read this thing. Or it's been a while since I have. But yeah, basically this will go out like when at the same time that I share the project with the author to review the pronunciation research, I'll send them this email. So it's not like they're getting the pause invite and then, what do I do with this? They'll have this email from me that sort of walks them through it. As you can see, it gives an introduction to, a little bit of pause, what it does. We use it for pronunciation research. And then it gives them the instructions for how to get in there, specifically where to find the pronunciations, how to listen to the pronunciations, how to change the pronunciations if I got something wrong, or how to provide one if I couldn't find it.
Awesome. Well, here is the email. Or at least a partial screenshot of the email. We use software called Pozotron for our audiobooks to identify any words that sound particularly tricky or that we aren't 100% sure about pronouncing correctly. We need you to review the list we compiled for your audiobook before we move forward. Here's exactly what you need to do once you log in, blah, blah, blah. And it really goes step by step. So it's very, I always get in trouble when I use the word idiot proof because it's not that someone is an idiot, but you just make it really, really easy and simple for them to follow those steps. So that is fantastic. One thing, I'm going to answer a question here live from Mr. Potts. When you include an author narrator as a researcher to a project, do they need their own account? The answer is yes. You do not need an account if you are they do not need an account to access the online packets because those are just read-only. That is, they can only access, all they have to do is go to that URL and they can access that. One thing to note though, I have this open, it is cryptographically strong. So there is almost no chance that anyone is ever going to guess this URL just randomly. It's a cryptographically strong URL. But in terms of sharing, no one can access inside of Pozotron your data without login authentication, and that's to prevent, a number of things, but we always want to control and know who is accessing your data. Really, really important for you and for us. But two, there is no cost to that, but it is really, really important that we control access, not only so we know who's accessing it, but allows you to do audits. So we had a support issue come in recently where someone was saying my pronunciation guide is changing and I'm not making those changes. It's because they had another person logged in to the same account at the same time, which is also not going to be possible in Pozotron in 2024. We're going to make two-factor authentication required. And that's again for your safety and for the safety of your data. But that's why we added in this audit history here. So you can actually see, you click on this last modified timestamp, it'll show every single update, not only when it was updated, what the update was, but who actually made that change and when as well. Good question, Cameron. And I would say just there is absolutely no cost to adding for someone creating that account. You can share a project with 0 people or 1,000 people, and there's no additional cost for any of that. Okay, I've answered that one live. Okay. Anything else you want to add, Jeff, other than anything else you want to make fun of me for? Maybe my Canadian accent, the fact I like hockey, anything else?
I've been using Pause since, I guess, more or less the beginning. It is absolutely an invaluable tool in this industry.
Thank you. Okay, quickly. This is actually a question that I did not prep you for that Johnny from my team just thought of. And I think this is actually probably better than any of the questions I forwarded you before, other than the magic wand question, which we will get to. But what was your, Kevin, you touched on this a little bit in terms of what before Pozotron, how you did your prep, and it was, a million different things. Do you have anything to elaborate on that in terms of what you did before and how much this has changed and saved you time and money? Well, maybe not money, but time and effort.
Yeah. So for my pronunciation, I used to have a big Google sheet. I actually have it open. I don't know if I can share that. But
yeah, well, here, let me stop sharing, see if you can share it.
Let's see.
If not, I may have to give you permissions. Advanced sharing options, hosts and panelists. Okay, now see if that works. Click the green share screen button and hopefully that should work. There you go. Success.
Hey. Okay, cool. So this was my old pronunciation Google sheet. So as you can see, I had all the references that I used, and it's basically the same as Pozotron's, but just really messy and everywhere. So it's like, these are the references that I used to use. As you can see, there's One Look, Oxford, Merriam-Webster, Cambridge, all along the top. A couple of other ones that I'd use. And then I had this like weird color code system of how the publishers can let me know stuff. And then these like browser recorders if I needed to send one to the author so they could record something. And then I would have the word, the book page, the count, which was done by going in the PDF, searching for it, and then writing the number down, then the pronunciation, then a couple of references for that word, and then notes that I'd got back from the author, and then my own little like IPA to phonetic writing reference, and then a little useful links guy on the side. And so that's what I was doing for ages. And as I said, it worked. I would share this with the author and the publisher, and everything was fine. But Pozotron was just easier. And there's like a online thing called I think it's called Coder or something, where you can like build your own programs in browser. And I had a look at that, but then Pozotron had already built it. So then I was just like, I think I'll just use Pozotron. And sure, you could write this software yourself, but then you'd like be as good as these guys. So
one thing to also note, those API integrations are not free. They are
right.
Costs a lot. So
exactly. And I would say that for the amount that I pay Pozotron to use the script prep tools, it speeds me up so much that I make that money back. So yeah, I prefer that. And basically, I'd done the same thing with the characters. I had a character page with the same stuff, the same notes, and then I had a color code system for when it was all okayed. So, so that's what I did before. It was similar. It just meant that I had to link to different places, and then I had to use up my Google Drive for all these reference recordings. It was still slower. So yeah, when I came across the script prep tools, it sped me up no end. It made it easier to share with publishers and authors. You guys are friendly as well, so it's nice saying hello. I live in this box all day, so it's nice to talk to people. Yeah, they're really good. So yeah.
And I will say, to Kevin's credit, he has probably raised the most bugs than any or known issues, as they're more maybe positively called, with our pickup or with our script prep tools. And that's actually a really good thing, because that just has let us improve. I think transfer research was, one of the things that you gave us the most feedback on, because there were a lot of edge cases and like weird things that would happen. And so we are much better because of Kevin's feedback. So
I did check whether they wanted a bazillion emails as well. I'm not just
in every email you do say, I'm not sure if you want to know this.
As much English preferences as I could have, just like, hi, sorry, me again.
Exactly. Okay, Jeff, quickly, for you? I know Scribe has only been around in audiobooks, at least you working there, since after Pozotron, and you create. So in terms of like your workflow before, how has this kind of made things improved?
I remember the first time that I did pronunciation research in Pozotron, and right off the bat, with me having no experience with Pozotron, it shaved 6 hours off of the project that I was doing pronunciation research for. And that was just immediate love right there. There was no turning back at that point.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. I'm just going to answer 2 quick questions. James Romick, I'm assuming, so you said this was from a while ago. Can you do that from a similarly formatted Word doc? I'm assuming that's export marked script. James, if I'm incorrect, let me know. You cannot export a marked up script in Word currently. It's just different functionality. We are building that functionality, but it's quite difficult. So hopefully I answered your question. If not, please ask it again with just a little bit more so I understand exactly what. Rebecca Lee. So I'm going to answer this, and then Jeff and Kevin, I'll have you answer this as well. Any tips on speeding up the process of going through the suggestions? So there are a couple things you can do. You can use these toggles here to say, I'm not worried about foreign words, or I'm not worried about capitalized rare terms. You can use those. But what I would say is use hotkeys. R and I on the keyboard, R for research, I for ignore. You're always going to be going on the first one. You're always going to be working on the first entry in the list. So sometimes it may take a second to spin there, is because we're actually calling every time you press research, we call the API for what, Forvo, for example, and we don't control the speed of their response. Jeff and Kevin, any other things to add to the hotkeys?
I do exactly that. R and I, like as soon as that list comes up, it's just hammering away R and I, R and I, R and I, and I won't do the recorded pronunciations until after I get through that step.
Cool.
I might do this sort of backwards, but when I get all these suggestions come up, I actually don't go through them. I just start reading the book, and then when I come across a word that I'm not sure about, then I pull the word.
And you just use this add custom word up here, right?
Right. So that like, or I open up the suggestion box and then pull that word in from the suggestions.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And so basically I'm only pulling in the words that I'm unsure about.
Good idea.
So, yeah.
Okay, James, what he was saying was importing one word per line. So per line, yes, if you go import, you can copy and paste from anything. It can be off a website, it can be whatever, it doesn't matter. So thank you for confirming that. Rebecca, one more question. Does your cursor need to be somewhere for the hotkeys to work? No, I just went to this page. I'm going to click R and it works. So it will always interact with the first one on that list. One other thing, just before I get into the magic wand question, and then I'll go very quickly through a few things we're working on, is, no, I just lost my train of thought. We do have the ability, many of you may know, to control the proofing and noise detection sensitivity. We are actually working on a tool where you're going to be able to control the pronunciation sensitivity as well. So you'll be able to say, and it won't, you'll be able to say, I want to see absolutely every suggestion, or just the things that you're 1000% sure, Pozotron, that is really difficult to pronounce. So we are working on that tool as well. That's a little bit longer term, but that is something we're working on. Okay, so final question for each of you. I'm going to go Jeff first because he's been so patient, and I want to make him go first because he makes fun of me all the time. If you could have a magic,
I love you, Adam.
I love you too, Jeff. If you could have a magic wand and wave it, and Pozotron would be able to do something and solve a problem for you, what would it be?
I'm going to give you 2 things. Is that okay?
That is great.
Because one is big and one is small. The big thing is I am very much looking forward to the day when the magicians that make Pozotron work allow us to record and edit and do it all inside of Pozotron. I know it's going to come. I don't know when it's going to come. That's the big thing. The not so big thing is I would love a way when doing the pronunciation research just to shut off the phonetics and not even give that option when we send it over to an author.
Just so it doesn't show up as no phonetics and blank. Yeah. Interesting.
Exactly. Because our authors, even though we tell them not to do the phonetics, they will still sometimes fill the phonetics in, and it still doesn't match the recorded pronunciation they provide. So it just creates, there's a quick step where I got to go through and just get rid of the phonetics anyway.
Awesome. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. Johnny, I know Johnny or Lindsay, please make note of that because that's a good idea. All right, Kevin.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like getting rid of more real estate tabs on my browser because you've already done a bunch of it. So I'd just like to get rid of more. So like I always have an IPA, Internet Phonetic Alphabet keyboard open. So if Pozotron could have a keyboard available that works in Pozotron, so when I'm writing my IPA, it's just there. That'd be ace. Because at the minute I'm writing it in that keyboard, and then copying it over and pasting it in Pozotron. So if there was just a pop up, I could go, then that would.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure there would be a way we could do that. So Johnny and Lindsay, thank you for recording that suggestion as well.
And I can give you a link to a really good IPA keyboard if there was any way of just like integrating it. Then
that would be perfect. Please do.
And then I guess the other thing would be the exported script. I don't use at the moment, and that's only for one reason, and it's because color like really grabs my attention. And so if the highlights could be just a subtle like underlined in gray rather than like a full bold color, then I can be like, oh, I've got a note on that. I can open it, but when I'm reading, it doesn't draw my attention, so I don't like massively emphasize a colored word that doesn't need to be emphasized. And at the moment, the links in the PDF don't seem to be clickable, and I don't know if that's just me.
That is unfortunately there is no way to do that in a PDF. There is no possible way to make a clickable link in a PDF. Unfortunately, we researched it, and unfortunately.
So then I was wondering if we could read the script inside of Pozotron again. So rather than having a PDF open, if we can read the script in Pozotron, and then it could have clickable links.
One idea that we have. So the idea that we're going to be building this teleprompter, right? So next year, maybe I just typed it, but the idea is we're going to be building this HTML teleprompter that will convert your PDF into just clean. I love Kevin. We figured out, by the way, this actually came up, the thumbs up emoji thing that you did on our planning call for this. Turns out that's an iOS feature. So it's only on devices. There's a few others, by the way. If you go like this, that'll give balloons, I think, or confetti. If you do 2 thumbs down, it'll do rain. Anyways, we as a team, we spent so much time doing this from our iPhones. But we're building this teleprompter, and one of the features that I hadn't thought of is maybe you could actually read through the book in Pozotron and just highlight a word and say add to pronunciation guide. That could go both ways. So just had that brainwave right there. Lindsay and Johnny, you have a long list of notes. Okay, 2 more questions, and then I'm going to go very quickly through because I know we're going a little bit over. Kelly Wilkinson, can we use Pozotron via the iPad other than through a browser? So we have optimized all of the online packets. Either that's your pronunciation guide, your character guide, or your pickup packet. All of those are optimized for iPad. Pozotron Studio itself does not have a mobile optimized version yet, but we're actually right in the design phase of that right now. And that is going to be launched in Q1. At least the first version of that will be launched in Q1 next year, where the idea is you're on a train somewhere, you'll be able to pull up your suggestions list inside of Pozotron and start going through that on your phone in a way that actually makes sense. So that is in progress as well, phone, iPad, whatever. Braden, haven't used the word search for a couple of years, but have you revised the search function so that words linked within punctuation, brackets, parentheses, commas, semicolons will appear as an option for research? I was surprised back then there were things left in the manuscript. Braden, to be honest, I don't know for sure, and I'll have to look into it. So if you could shoot us an email to help@pozotron.com, I will look into that and answer that for you. Okay. Recent feature releases. So we have now added a custom pronunciation dictionary for everyone. So previously what would happen is Pozotron would most of the time look up Pozotron would most of the time pull, if so the name Pozotron, for example, which let me go into a different project here. If I had added the pronunciation for Pozotron in a previous project and then added it again, it would look it up and pull the data you already pulled previously. Now what we have here is, so we've got the name, where is it? Where's Dinah? I thought I added this previously. So, okay, so we've got the name Dinah here.
Dino.
I'm going to change that. So, and record Dinah. Click save. I am going to click this little, gotta move some things over top of my screen. Click this little plus button here. I can now go into here, and this is a list of all the custom pronunciations I've added that will then be automatically pulled into other projects. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this project, which I created, which I know has the word Dinah included. I'm going to go open suggestions. I'm going to add Dinah. I'm also going to add Pozotron, and it'll automatically pull Dinah, Pozotron. It'll automatically pull those, so you're never having to repeat the words. And we're also adding a feature where if you've got 200 words on that list, you could come in when you first start a project and say, pull in custom pronunciation. So it'll pull all 200 words into your dictionary. You don't have to go through the open suggestion, or sorry, into your pronunciation guide for that project. And it'll only then show you, the words actually found in the book. We're doing the same thing for characters as well. That's coming out. Marked up script with audio links. So you can it'll actually include the audio link for the recording. It is not a clickable link. That is a limitation that we don't control, unfortunately. You can change pronunciation guide entries now, where you can edit it using this edit key or this edit icon. And then the last modified and change audits. So those are, I showed those previously as well. For upcoming things, and these are custom character guide is in the relatively near term, a very similar functionality to this custom pronunciation dictionary, but it'll be for character recordings. So that is coming. Dialogue detector. This is going to be wild. This is going to be the ability to, inside of the character guide, say, let me go into character guide here. Show me every line of dialogue from Watson for the entire book. There is a chance that it won't catch 100% of everything, because sometimes it'll respond with, sometimes it'll say he said, so it won't be 100%, but it'll be very, very close to that. And from that dialogue detector, a couple things will happen. You can mark up automatically all lines of dialogue for a character highlighted in a certain color in the PDF. Two, that is going to be essential for that scan occurrences for dialogue, where you'll be able to pull all occurrences of John Watson from your audio and make sure that the voice you've used is accurate. James, do all of those things occur as they are created, or can they be made to appear alphabetically? James, if you could just give me a little more information. I'm not sure what you mean by those things. If I will definitely answer that question. Character descriptions tool, also something we're working on, where you're able to say, okay, yes, you can sort your list here, James, just so you know, you can sort your list by number of occurrence, first occurrence alphabetically, or last edited for characters. And there's a few other sort options in pronunciation as well. So hopefully that answers your question. And then in terms of, what was I talking about? Character descriptions tool. This is where you're going to be able to pull all the physical descriptions of a character from a book, all the vocal descriptions. Kevin said in an English accent, Jeff said aggressively because he was making fun of Adam. All of those cues to, again, much more easily pull those acting cues from a book. And then finally,
so cool.
Yeah, that'll be a big game changer, I think. Obviously, no one in their right mind would ever pay me to record an audiobook. At least I think that'll be a big time saver.
I want to get you on our roster, Adam.
Oh, no, you don't, Jeff. No, you don't. My kids would prefer to listen to audiobooks and listen to me read them stories. So, okay, Jeff and Kevin. I have one question. This is a little off topic, but totally happy to answer it, from Mitch. Where does the name Pozotron come from? Maybe your grandmother's name or something. So I actually am not the founder of Pozotron. I was hired about 2.5, 3 years into the company's existence to help our founder, Jake Poznansky scale the company. Pozotron actually comes from back when he was originally playing with the idea of ASR, automated speech recognition software. There was this not scientific, but like development research paper called Tacotron that was all about ASR technology. And so he took the Tron and the pause from his name. I think in a perfect world, Jake would go back in time and name it something else, but we've got the brand recognition now. So it is what it is. All right. Jeff and Kevin, thank you so much for your time. Kevin, I promise it will only be 1.5 years until your t-shirt appears.
Great.
Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Thank you. Like, as I said, you guys have saved me loads of time, and yeah, it's cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I say the same. It has proved so valuable when it comes to time saving, when it comes to accuracy and efficiency. Yeah, I think everybody knows that I am a tremendous fan of the pause.
Well, thank you very much to you both. Kevin, keep sending those bug reports because
Every day.
It honestly does make us better. And I will say to everyone, and I mean this 100% sincerely, if you have questions about our tool, how to use it, book a demo with us. If you have if you have issues that you find in Pozotron, something doesn't work the way it should, or you want it to, send us an email. We do actually want to hear from you. And it's not just because I'm Canadian and I'm nice, and so I force the rest of our team to be nice. It honestly does make us better. And I will end with a thank you. Heather Firth, I do appreciate the offer of coaching. I will say, I'm probably beyond help from a narration perspective. Your jobs are way too hard. I don't think I can do them. So, okay, 2 more questions before I end. James Romick, does our mascot have a name? Yes, his name is Posy the Owl. And Natasha, I'm trying to save settings so it shows the phonetic pronunciation, not IPA. No, so you cannot change that currently. So just so you know, you cannot actually change whether we get IPA or more basic regular words. I don't know how to pronounce that. It was really well described. But that is not currently possible because that's a setting that we would have to set with like the Oxford API. So that's not something you can currently do. And we don't have the ability to hide text yet, as Jeff asked for. So, okay. Without further ado, we're going to end it here. Thank you so much to everyone for joining. If you had to leave partway through, we're going to joined partway through, we'll put up the webinar recording. And thank you very much to Jeff and Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.